Could you use a little spiritual recharge in the middle of your week? Welcome to Pause.
Jesus loved to tell stories, and in his stories, he would take these deep, profound spiritual truths and illustrate them with things from everyday life. In one of my favorite stories, he takes things like seed and soil, and he uses them to teach us about the way we hear the gospel and the way that we share the gospel. The story is found in Mark chapter 4. Here's what Jesus says. Listen, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants so that they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, some 100 times. Then Jesus said, "Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear." One of the fascinating things about this parable is that it's the one parable Jesus tells where he gives us the answer key. He tells us what some of the elements of the story actually represent. He says that the seed is the word of God. The seed is the truth. The seed is the gospel. It is what is sown in our lives. And he says that the soil represents different hearers of the truth, different ways that people receive the good news of the gospel. The interesting thing is that Jesus doesn't tell us who the sower is. We can interpret his parable in a couple of different ways. Maybe we are the soil, and this is a story about the way that we're supposed to listen to the good news. But maybe he's telling it so that we are the sower, and he's giving us instruction about how we sow seed, how we spread the good news of the gospel. The first way we can connect with this parable that Jesus tells is to realize that he's talking to us about how we hear him. He wants us to be good, receptive soil that produces abundant fruit. He doesn't want us to be like the soil on the path, where the seed falls but is quickly snatched up by birds. Some people hear Jesus, but they don't really internalize what he says. They don't understand what he says. They don't take it to heart, and the devil carries that seed away before it can produce any fruit. Other people are like what Jesus calls rocky soil that is on top of a thick layer of rock, soil that is very shallow, so that the seed sprouts, but the roots can't go very deep, and so even though it might look good on the surface, it can't handle hardship. It can't handle difficult things. Some people are like that kind of soil. They respond to Jesus maybe emotionally, but that commitment doesn't last. Other people, Jesus says, are like seed that grows among thorns. The seed grows, but it's not the only thing that's growing, and the other things that are growing there choke out the growth of the seed. Some people receive the gospel, they listen to Jesus, but they're listening to so many other things that Jesus can't really take root deeply in them in a way that will sustain them. But some people, Jesus says, are like good soil that produces abundant fruit, 30 to 60 to 100 times what was sown. Jesus wants you to listen to him so well that his fruit is born in your life. The second way we connect with this parable is to realize that Jesus is talking to us about how we share him. We can put ourselves in the place of the sower in the story. And that sower acts very surprisingly. He doesn't just become Mr. Efficient, hopping on his John Deere tractor and plowing nice even rows and carefully sowing the seed only where it's going to be most fruitful. No, he scatters it recklessly. He lets some get on the path, even though it might get eaten by birds. He lets some get on the hard soil. He lets some get on the thorny soil. He just spreads it everywhere. And we too are called to spread the gospel everywhere and leave the results to God. Don't be tempted to just share with people that you know will say yes. Don't be tempted to just share with people that you know you won't be embarrassed as you share. just spread it recklessly. Spread it everywhere and leave the results to God. Don't worry that some people will reject it. Tell them anyway. Don't worry that some people might say yes, but it's just an emotional decision that won't last. Tell them anyway. Don't worry that some people will receive it, but it'll eventually get choked out. Tell them anyway, knowing that some people that you tell, the harvest will be abundant. It will produce a ridiculous amount of fruit, 30, 60 to 100 times what was sown. So my prayer for you, all you who watch this video, is two things. Number one, that you will be good, receptive soil, allowing the word of Jesus to take deep root in you and to bear much fruit. Number two, that you will be a reckless sower, spreading the good news of Jesus everywhere you go and leaving the results to God.